It's a pleasure to have you join me on this virtual journey. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into Job 33. Job 33 is the 33rd chapter of the book of Job in the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. The book is anonymous. Most scholars believe it was written around 6th century BCE. This chapter records the speech of Elihu, which belongs to the verdicts section of the book, comprising Job. In this section, we'll be exploring text. The original text is written in Hebrew language. This chapter is divided into 33 verses. Get ready to immerse yourself in the world of textual witnesses as we examine its impact and relevance. Some early manuscripts containing the text of this chapter in Hebrew are of the Masoretic text, which includes the Aleppo Codex 10th century and Codex Leningradensis 1008. Fragments containing parts of this chapter in Hebrew were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, including a Kikob 30 CE with extant verses and a Kikob BCE with extant verses. There is also a translation into Koine Greek known as the Septuagint, made in the last few centuries BC. Some extant ancient manuscripts of this version include Codex Vaticanus B. 4th century, Codex Sinaiticus S. BHK as 4th century, and Codex Alexandrinus A. 5th century. As we transition to the next segment, let's unravel the mysteries surrounding analysis and gain a fresh perspective. The structure of the book is as follows: prologue chapters, the dialogue chapters, the verdicts, the epilogue. Within the structure, chapter 33 is grouped into the verdicts section with the following outline: Elihu's verdict. Prose introduction of Elihu. Elihu's apology. A transition from apology to argument. Elihu's first speech. Citation of Job's charges. Job is in the wrong. God speaks through dreams. God speaks through suffering. An angelic mediator. Appealing for a response. Elihu's second speech. Elihu's third speech. Elihu's fourth speech. God's appearance, Yahweh's speeches, and Job's responses. God's first speech. Job's first reply and insufficient response. God's second speech. Job's second reply. The section containing Elihu's speeches serves as a bridge between the dialogue chapters and the speeches of YHWH chapters. There is an introduction in the prose form Job, describing Elihu's identity and circumstances that cause him to speak, starting in Job. The whole speech section can be formally divided into 4 monologues, each starting with a similar formula: Job. Elihu's first monologue is preceded by an apologia, justification for speaking Job, and the transitionary part which introduces Elihu's main arguments Job before the speech formally commences Job. In the first 3 speeches, Elihu cites and then disputes specific Job's charges in the preceding dialogue. Job's charges, Elihu's response, Job. The first speech in chapter 33 opens with a citation of Job's charges Job, followed by a rejection to Job's argument about God's silence Job, that, according to Elihu, God speaks in a variety of ways Job, through dreams Job, through suffering Job, and through messengers, angels Job. So now Elihu challenges Job to listen to him Job. In chapters, Elihu stops refuting Job's charges, but states his conclusions and verdict. 1. A summon to Job 2. A hymn of praise to God as creator Job 3. A concluding address to Job. In this section, we'll be peeling back the layers of preamble to Elihu's speech to reveal its true essence. Verses preamble to Elihu's speech. The section starts with Elihu addressing Job by name. Job's friends never mentioned Job's name, stating that as a fellow human being, he can speak to Job as an equal. Verse 4, because they both are created by their maker. Verse Isaiah. Elihu claims to be speaking from uprightness of heart and pure, sincere lips. Verse 3. The breath of the Almighty in verse 4, so his words will lead to better understanding, as he challenges but at the same time provides reassurances to Job. Verses. Get ready for a captivating exploration as we unravel the layers of verse 4 and their profound significance. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. Spirit of God, translated from the Hebrew phrase, along with the phrase the breath of the Almighty, echo Job that Elihu is possessed of wisdom, and here focuses on the functional aspect of the creation that gives life. Has given me life, translated from the Hebrew verb tekayin, using the peel imperfect of the verb to live, so it can mean gives me life or quickens me, enlivens me. With that being said, let's now move on to Elihu's first speech. Verses I. Elihu's first speech. Elihu quotes what he heard of Job's charges, verses in which Job maintains his innocence, cited 4 times in verse 9, while Job feels that God has wronged him, cited 4 times in verses Job 123 in Job ear, Jobab in Jobab, Job 127 in Job. Elihu focuses his response only on the words spoken among Job and his friends, not on Job's prior actions, but on how to speak rightly about God, so Elihu is basically delivering a verdict on the debate. In addressing Job's legal approach, Elihu rightly understands that Job's pursuit of litigation was primarily to get God to answer Job's questions, so Elihu gives 3 examples how God does speak to people, although humans often cannot perceive the response. Verse 14. Job 1. God speaks through dreams. Verses 2. God speaks through suffering. Verses 3. God speaks through a mediator. Verses, a messenger or angel. The speech concludes with an appeal to Job called by name. Job to speak, although the tone of the statements suggests Job only to pay attention and listen. Verses. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of verses and its fascinating intricacies. If there is a messenger for him, an interpreter, one among 1,000, to show to man what is right for him, then he is gracious to him, and says, "Deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. His flesh will be fresher than a child's. He will return to the days of his youth." Messenger, translated from the Hebrew word, which is often rendered as angel, who could be a human or a heavenly being. This messenger will interpret, mediate God's will, and could be one out of the thousands of messengers at God's disposal, or a unique messenger. Ecclesiastes 7:28. Job will be fresher, translated from the Hebrew word rutafosh, which is found nowhere else in the Hebrew Bible, and can be interpreted based on the Hebrew word yitav, to become fresh, with a connection to ratav, to be well watered, or as a combination of ratav, to be well watered, and tafosh, to grow fat. Don't forget to check out my other videos for more valuable content.